Hello, wonderful listeners, and welcome back. In today's episode, we're diving into one of the most crucial steps that you can take to own your career growth and set yourself up for success, tracking your accomplishments and your achievements, and learning how to confidently advocate for yourself. While it may not seem like the most glamorous topic, let me assure you, it is a complete game changer. Often we're so engrossed in our next task or project that we neglect to reflect on or acknowledge the remarkable things that we've accomplished. But here's the deal. If you don't keep a record of your successes, how can you effectively advocate for yourself when the time comes? Be that during an annual review, salary negotiation, or even a casual conversation. By the end of this episode, you're going to be equipped with practical tools for tracking your achievements in a way that feels manageable and even empowering. Plus, I'll share insights on how to confidently use this information to advocate for the opportunities, recognition, and rewards that you truly deserve. Let's dive in. Welcome to I Think You're Muted, the podcast empowering professional women to step up, speak out, and be heard. I'm Dr. Stephanie Dean, and after hearing I Think You're Muted one too many times in meetings, I realized many of us are living our lives on mute. Your voice is your most powerful tool, and in each episode, you'll get the strategies and stories to help you find it, overcome challenges, and lead with confidence. Ready to turn up the volume on your impact? Let's dive in. Let's begin with a question. How many of you have faced the night before an annual review wondering, what on earth have I accomplished this year? I see you, because we've all experienced this. That moment of frantic reflection, scrambling together everything that you've worked on over the past year, realizing, why didn't I document this? The truth is, tracking your achievements is one of the most vital things you can do to advocate for yourself, and yet, it's often the task most neglected. Why? Well, because we're busy. We're so engrossed in the next project and the next deadline, we'll assume that we remember our accomplishments because, at the time, they seem significant. But life moves quickly, and before we know it, those wins, they just fade into the background. So let's be candid for a moment. We've all experienced that oh shit moment, haven't we? It's the day before the review. You're suddenly in a state of panic wondering, what did I actually achieve this year? You might find yourself sifting through old meeting notes or emails trying to piece together highlights, but the reality is much of the outstanding work you've done gets lost because you didn't take the time to track it along the way.
We've set up a free resource for you. It's a Google Sheets. You make a copy of it. It's a personal achievement tracker. It's just going to simplify everything for you. So let me walk you through how the personal achievement tracker works. When you download it, you'll find 4 key tabs to help you stay organized and on top of your wins. You'll find a daily and weekly tab. This is where you'll log your small, everyday achievements. Maybe you've delivered a presentation, or maybe a colleague praised you for stepping in to help. Write it down, even if it feels small. These moments are going to add up over time. Then you'll find the quarterly highlights. So once every few months, I want you to take some time to reflect on the big picture. What projects or milestones stand out? Summarize them here to create an easy reference when it's time to prepare for your review. Then you have the feedback journal. So often feedback gets lost in the shuffle and you're going to have to try to remember who gave it to you, when they gave it to you, search your emails. Sometimes your work will actually get rid of older email and you may have lost it. So I want you to use this tab to record any positive comments, testimonials from clients, or praise from managers. This is going to come in so handy when you want to demonstrate how your contributions are being recognized. And then future goals, final tab. This is where you plan your next moves. What skills do you want to develop? What new responsibilities do you want to take on? Use this space to map out where you're headed next.
Here's something that might surprise you. It's not your fault. You're juggling numerous priorities, your deadlines, projects. You're focused on delivering outcomes, not necessarily documenting them. In the rush of daily tasks, it's easy to push aside the task of noting down your wins, thinking, I'll remember it later. However, the harsh truth is, you likely won't. Later is never, right? I'm not saying this to dishearten you, rather to highlight the fact that memory alone isn't sufficient for advocating for yourself. We tend to remember the most recent or the most dramatic events. But the small, consistent victories, they can slip through the cracks. Yet, in an annual review or negotiation, those smaller wins are instrumental. They complete the portrayal of your contributions. They paint the full picture. So consider it like this. Relying solely on memory is akin to attempting to run a marathon after months on the couch. You're unprepared, hurriedly trying to catch up, and it's utterly exhausting. But if you regularly track your progress, essentially training that muscle consistently, you're ready when the review time comes around. You've got your receipts. They're ready. I know what you're thinking though. Tracking achievements, just another task to add to the list. Should I track that too? And trust me, I get it, I understand, but let me explain why this is more than just another item on your to-do list. It's career insurance. It differentiates feeling stressed and overwhelmed before a review from entering that meeting with calm, confidence, and preparedness. By consistently documenting your achievements, you're crafting a personal archive of your impact. You're building a portfolio of wins so that when it's time to advocate for yourself, be it during a performance review, a negotiation, or even a casual chat with your boss, you have comprehensive, detailed lists of accomplishments and their significance. Then why do we actually procrastinate on this? Why do we assure ourselves, I'll remember or I'll do it later? The reality is, tracking achievements often doesn't seem urgent. It lacks the pressing deadlines of other tasks. So it gets sidelined. And that's entirely normal. However, the longer it's delayed, the more challenging it becomes. It's like attempting to recall every book read last year without noting any down or using GoodNotes on your phone. Sure, a few significant ones might come to mind, but all the details, the nuances, gone. They just fade away. So when it's time to discuss your year in review or negotiate that raise in that discussion, you find yourself trying to remember all the ways that you added value. And that's when the stress strikes, that oh shit moment. And even worse, it can make you internally feel like, maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I didn't do XYZ. That's not the approach we want, right? We aim for proactivity, preparation, empowerment. So how do we turn things around? How do we shift from that oh shit scramble to being prepared, confident, ready? The answer's simple. Make tracking your achievements a habit. But here's some good news. This doesn't require hours of dedication. It can be as straightforward as setting aside 5 minutes at the end of each week to jot down your wins. Whether they're small or large, they all count. What was your contribution? What was the result? Did you receive any positive feedback for these? And here's where it gains power. Over time, these small entries accumulate. When you look back over a quarter, a year, or even a month, you'll have a comprehensive record of your impact. And when it's time for that review or that negotiation, there won't be a mad rush. You'll walk into that meeting equipped with a solid, detailed list of your contributions. You're going to confidently declare, here's what I've accomplished, and here's why it matters. So allow me to share a brief story to underscore this point. I once worked with a client. We're going to call her Sally. She spent the entire year working diligently, leading projects, and significantly impacting her work. Yet when her annual review approached, she realized she hadn't recorded anything. So there she was the night before her review, hurriedly searching through old emails, trying to reconstruct a year's worth of work. We've all been there at least once, right? Well, the next day she entered her review stressed, flustered, unprepared, and due to this, she undersold herself. Her boss was unaware of many of her accomplishments, and she didn't secure that raise. All because she hadn't tracked her achievements and then sold what she could do. So here's the upside. She did learn from that experience. Afterwards, she maintained a simple achievement journal. By the next review, she had a clear, detailed record of her work and how that tied to the company's goals. So that year, she entered a review confident, prepared, ready to self-advocate, and guess what? She got a promotion. So here's the takeaway. Don't wait until you're caught in that oh shit moment. Begin tracking your achievements now. Your future self will thank you. When review time comes around, you'll have everything needed to compellingly argue why you deserve that recognition, that raise, or that next big opportunity. So let's switch gears for a moment and talk about something that I know many of you might be feeling, and that is review anxiety. It is completely normal to feel nervous or worried before your annual review. We're in this season, right? We're gearing up for it. After all, it's a high-stakes conversation about your career and your contributions and your future. But here's the thing, that anxiety can actually work for you, not against you, if you know how to channel it. It often comes down to the fear of the unknown. What if your manager brings up something negative? What if you forgot to mention something important? Or what if you don't advocate for yourself as well as you'd like to? But here's the truth. You are more in control than you think. When you walk into that review prepared with a clear list of your achievements and a confident mindset, you're halfway to success. You're there. You're halfway there. So let me give you 3 strategies to manage that review anxiety. Number 1, I want you to shift your mindset. This is a conversation. This is not a test. That is a huge one. I cannot tell you how much of a difference this one will make. So the first step in managing your review anxiety is to change how you think about the review itself. This is not a test. You're not going to pass and fail. It's a conversation. And that conversation is a two-way street. You're not just there to listen. You're there to contribute, to advocate for yourself, and to share the value that you've brought to the company. I want you to try to reframe the review as an opportunity to tell your story. This is your chance to shine, to showcase all the ways that you've made an impact. Okay, number 2, I want you to prepare, but don't over-prepare. There's a balance. Preparation is key. Again, there's a balance. It's easy to fall into the trap of over-preparing, of running through every possible question or scenario in your mind. This can actually heighten your anxiety. So instead, focus on preparing a few key points. I want your major accomplishments, a challenge you overcame, and a goal for the future. When you're clear on these 3 areas, you're going to feel more grounded and more confident walking into that conversation. And lastly, I want you to use the 3, 2, 1 technique before you review. I want you to take 3 deep breaths, 3 slow, deep breaths to reset your nervous system, and then 2 minutes of reflection. So I want you to spend those 2 minutes, and 2 minutes when you're like silent in your head, that can sound like a lot. Spend 2 minutes thinking about the 2 or 3 accomplishments that you're most proud of. Let yourself feel some pride that comes with owning those wins. And then I want you to give yourself 1 positive affirmation. Remind yourself of your value. Say something like, I am prepared and I have earned this conversation. This small act of self-encouragement can make a huge difference in your confidence, even in your stance going in. So when you walk into that review grounded in your accomplishments, doing these 3, 2, 1, 3 deep breaths, 2 minutes of reflection, and 1 positive affirmation, you're going to be centered in your worth and you're going to position yourself for success. So now that we've explored why tracking achievements is critical and why procrastination is easy, let's move on to how to make this process straightforward and effective. Let's get actionable. I'm going to guide you through a few practical strategies that you can implement today to keep track of your wins and leverage them to advocate for yourself confidently. Okay, so we have clarity on why this is crucial, and now let's going to delve into how to do it. How? Now, there's no need for a complicated system or investing in countless hours or buying the fancy pants planner. In fact, simplicity is key here. First, you're going to create an achievement journal. This is just a straightforward yet powerful way to document your achievements. It can be as simple as a note on your phone, a document on your computer, or even a physical piece of paper if you prefer traditional methods. Whenever you reach a milestone or complete a project or receive positive feedback, write it down. I know it seems annoying and you're not going to remember it every time. That's okay. You're going to write it down. So here's a structure you can use. What you did, and I want you to be specific about the task or project, the impact, what was the outcome, how did it benefit your team or company, and feedback. Was your work praised or mentioned in a meeting? I want you to include it. Often we believe we need to wait for big wins before tracking our achievements, but the reality is small wins add up over time. Don't wait until a huge project is completed. Track the steps along the journey. It's the small, consistent victories that accumulate into these big successes. Daily, incremental progress catalyzes genuine growth. Okay, let me share a personal story about how I learned this lesson in a very different area of my life, running. A while back, I decided to get serious about running, and I hired a coach to help me improve my speed and my endurance. I am not fast, and I can go farther now, but at the time, I couldn't even run for 30 seconds. So at the time, when I first started, I thought the key to success would be hitting those long runs, setting personal records, pushing myself to the limit. But my coach, she had a totally different approach, thank goodness. When I first started working with my coach, I was all about the big runs. I wanted to go, 100 miles. the big marathons, the ultra marathons, the finish lines, the PRs. I thought those were the only things that were going to show that I had accomplished what I set out to do, that I had reached my goals. But she quickly showed me that it is not about waiting for those big moments. It's all about the small, consistent effort you put in every single day that really shows your worth. I remember one week in particular when I was getting super frustrated. I wasn't seeing any dramatic improvement in my times. I felt like I wasn't making enough progress. I wanted to push harder, run faster, hit those big milestones. But instead, my coach had me focus on small, manageable runs and build up my endurance little by little. She told me the big wins come from stacking small wins consistently. You can't expect to run a marathon without putting in those daily miles. It's the work that you do in the background. Those runs, they're not exciting, right? But they are the ones that lead to breakthroughs. And sure enough, she was right. Week after week, I focused on those small daily runs, gradually increasing my stamina, gradually increasing my speed. And then without even realizing it, I hit a major personal best. And it didn't even feel like some sudden dramatic shift. It was the culmination of all those small, consistent wins that got me there. This is not a Hollywood story. There's no jump cut to the end. It's small, consistent wins, just like you're going to track in your achievement tracker. So what I learned through that process is exactly what I want to share with you today. The big wins don't come out of nowhere. They come from the accumulation of small, steady progress over time. So when it comes to tracking your achievements, don't wait for those big milestones. Track the small wins along the way. I know I've said that like 10 times. There's a reason I've said it like 10 times. Maybe you've led a successful meeting that moved a project forward, or you've received positive feedback on a presentation, or you solved a minor issue that kept a project on track. These may not feel like big moments, quote unquote, but in the grand scheme of things, they matter. They're the foundation for your future success. Just like with running, your career is built on small steps, day by day, project by project. When you track those small wins, you're building a body of work that you can look back on with pride and confidence. And here's the real magic. When you string together those small achievements, they become evidence that you need to advocate for yourself in a big way when the time comes. For example, let's say you've been working on improving a workflow or a process within your team. You may not see dramatic results right away, but if you document each small improvement, every little tweak that you made that made things run smoother, by the time you reach the end of your project, you'll have a full story of how you led your team to a more efficient way of working. Actually, in a couple of podcast episodes, I don't think it's the next one, it's the one after, we're going to talk about storytelling and the way that we do this. But for now, here's your action step. I want you to start tracking your daily wins. They don't have to be huge. They just need to reflect the progress you're making. Maybe it's a task you completed, a compliment you received from a colleague, or a project you move forward. Whatever it is, write it down. And here's another tip. You may have received a compliment from a colleague or an email with a compliment in it from a vendor. That doesn't mean that the manager that you're then now about to have that conversation with knows those things. You can't expect them to read your mind about this. So over time, those small wins are going to add up and build into something bigger. And when it's time for that annual review or that promotion conversation, you're going to have that full record of your consistent impact. Okay, so now we've talked about tracking your achievements. Let's talk about how to use this information to advocate for yourself. Whether you're preparing for an annual review, asking for a raise, or simply wanting to be more visible in your workplace, having a clear record of your contributions is like having your own personal power portfolio. So when advocating for yourself, it's not just enough to say, I did X. You need to show why it mattered. For example, let's say you streamlined a process that saved your team time. So instead of just saying, I streamlined this process, frame it like, I implemented a new workflow that cut down manual hours by 15%, which allowed our team to focus on higher priority projects. This contributed us to meeting the Q2 target ahead of schedule. By tying your contributions to the company's bigger goals, you're showing that you're not just doing tasks, you're creating impact. So by doing this, you're using something called the CAR method. That's challenge, action, result. The challenge is what was the problem or goal you were tackling. The action is what steps did you take to solve or achieve it. And the result is what was the outcome? How did it benefit the team or the company?
This method helps you tell a compelling story about your work rather than just listing off tasks. Advocating for yourself and creating this list of car-related tasks is not just about what you've done. It's about where you're going. So when you speak up for your achievements, you're also sharing a vision for the future. This shows leadership. This shows proactivity. When you're advocating for yourself, especially in an annual review or a career development conversation, you want to share your achievements, but also to talk about what you want to do next. For example, you can say, I'm really proud of the work I did leading the implementation of this project, and I'm excited to continue building on that. I'd love to take on more leadership roles in the next year, especially in projects related to this area. This positions you as someone not just who's resting on past successes, but is actively thinking about future growth. The last thing I want to leave you with today is this. Celebrate your wins. Too often we're focused on the next thing that we forget to pause and acknowledge all of the incredible work we've done. But here's the thing. Every time you celebrate your achievements, you build confidence. And that confidence, that's exactly what's going to help you continue to advocate for yourself, to own your worth, and to go after opportunities you have earned and deserve. So here's your action step. Take a few minutes after this episode to write down at least 3 wins from the past month. Big or small, doesn't matter. What matters is that you're building the habit of tracking your achievements and celebrating your progress. Okay, that's it for today. But this whole month, we're going to talk about the annual review. We're going to talk about the different strategies to go into it confidently. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this episode has given you the tools and the confidence to start tracking your achievements and to advocate for the incredible value you bring. Remember, your work matters and it deserves to be recognized. Until next time, keep showing up, keep tracking your wins, and keep owning your worth.